Good morning. Good morning. Our guest here, Kes, is here. People are being let in the lobby, but I'll start anyone. Good morning, everyone. And my name is Adora Ikwemesi. I'm the founder of Kendall Consulting. Please state where you're joining in from. If this is your first time, this is the Stay Trendy webinar where we keep HR professionals up to date with the latest trends. We make sure that they're well equipped to deliver to their organization's objectives and of course their own personal objectives as well. So welcome everyone, and we have our wonderful guest today. Oh, welcome everyone, welcome. Good morning, and just let us know where you're coming in from. We always like to know where everyone here is dialing in from, just so that we know how vast the reach of this program is. And it's nice because we haven't had one of these in a while, so it's really good to be here after a hiatus of sorts. So as we let people in, yes, Stephanie from Lagos, welcome. Yeah, welcome everyone. So I'm going to do a brief introduction. I'll just take down the flyer. Obviously, you must have seen this flyer to have joined this webinar, and we will share. So just so that I could see my
Is that me? You've gone. Can everyone hear me? It looks like Adora is on.
Yes, I think she's having network
Okay.
challenge.
Okay. Oh, you're back.
Right. Yes, we don't want the flyer, so I can't share. I can't stop it on my screen. Okay, let me stop it. Yeah. Okay, good. I think I've been able to stop it. Right. So, Kes, so you are very much welcome, and it's
Thank
such a
you.
pleasure to have you here to help us on this very important topic on digitalizing ourselves as HR professionals. And this is all about leveling up. So obviously this edition is about level up HR.
Okay, thank you for having me. I think you've gone on network issues, I'm guessing.
Yes, I think it's a network issue. Let me try reaching out to her.
Okay. Should I kick off then? If you could put my slides on, we could get cracking because I know time will go quite quickly, so we can get some time for Q&A as well. So good morning, everybody.
Yeah, good morning. I don't know why I was logged out, so
okay.
please, Kes, I'm just going to, just before I get logged out again, please, Kes, do your thing. I mean, the reason why we're here is to ensure that, everybody here is kept abreast. I mean, these are webinars that we host often. So please just do your thing. Help us. What do we do to level up and fast track our digital HR capabilities? So over to you, Kes, and
Brilliant.
thank you.
Thank you. All right. Good morning, everyone. It's always lovely to have HR professionals on. If we could get the slides up, that would be good. So I am Kasiena Ogefere, and I'm a HRIS technology consultant. So what I do is help HR teams and organizations to reclaim their time back, if you like, from admin burdens, from manual tasks. So I used to work as a HR generalist, and I didn't like admin at all. I didn't like the manual tasks that came with the role, the repetitiveness of the role, things that had to be done over and over again. And I always try to automate and use technology to my advantage. And then I founded Copio Group almost 9 years ago now. And what I do is help HR teams and businesses to take away the things that slow them down, take away the admin burden, help HR teams go from admin heavy to strategy ready. And what I mean by that is taking away all the things that slow you down and help you to actually deliver value add activities. And this is for your own personal development as well as the organization. So if you think about it this way, if you take away everything that is slowing you down, everything that stops you from actually carrying out those things that you actually enjoy doing about your role, or the things that actually add value, then you can, be a better HR professional for yourself, for your organization, and you can also show the organization what you can bring to the table instead of just doing the manual admin task. And I don't know about anyone else, but the reputation that HR has about being, the hirer, this about being hire and fire and paper pushers, it bothered me. And I know a lot of HR professionals who are great at what they do, but there's so much time being spent and wasted on admin and manual work. So that's what I do now, help you to digitalize so that you can take away all those admin tasks and you can focus on the things you enjoy doing and the things that actually add value. Okay. If I would do my slides myself.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, you can, please.
Okay, that's fine.
So that you're in control.
No problem. I'll just get that up now. Okay. 1 second. All right, let me know, please, in the comments once you can see my screen, and then we'll take it from there.
So we can't see your screen yet.
Okay, so
and
should just be coming up now.
Yes, I can see that. It's just about.
Okay, I'm going to put in slide view now. Can you see my screen now?
Let's look. See. Yes, it's still on. It's not on slide show, but it's on.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Better?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
So I've done a bit of introduction about myself.
Yes.
I'll talk about my business now.
Yes.
Can you still see the screen?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
You can help us with.
That has gone off for me, so I'm just going to do something. Okay. Right. Okay. So, Copio Group, we're a HRIS consultancy, and we help organizations to digitalize, to really use technology to their advantage, and get people to actually adopt the technology as well, which you have within your organization. So that's what we do. And I'm just going to dig in straight into digitalization. 1 second. Okay. All right. Can you still see my screen? Because I can't see it.
Yes, we can.
Okay. All right.
can,
Brilliant.
Definitely.
So what is digital capability? I'm going to go back a bit. And I think this is something a lot of people talk about. So for me, it refers to key things. Mindset, skills, tools, systems that organizations can use to effectively use technology to improve their performance, to solve problems, and drive value. So, and one of the key things I want to point out is the mindsets, the skills, and the tools. So, the behavior is important as well, and organizational readiness, to an extent. And the reason why I say to an extent is because sometimes you might find yourself in an organization that is not ready to digitalize or to use technology. Maybe it's not just where they are, or maybe they don't have the budget for it. But that doesn't mean you need to stay stuck, drowned in admin. So, you still can find ways to digitalize what you're doing in your role as a HR professional so that you can then do value-add activities, learn more skills, and then be able to, progress in your role, either within the organization or somewhere else. And I'll give you a quick example. One of my first roles I had as a HR professional after my master's in HR, it was to help with the reference checks and security checks after someone had been hired in the organization. And about 80 to 90% of it was manual. So if you think about it this way, I had to copy the new starters details from a spreadsheet, handwrite in a reference form, send it off in the post, bring it back, all of that stuff. And I was spending a lot of time doing manual work. And I just said to myself, look, if I keep doing this, I won't have time to actually show, what I can do. I've just come off uni, I've got all the theory in my head. I wanted to put them into practice, but I didn't have the time to do it because I was spending a lot of time on admin. So I found a way. I did some research, found how to digitalize the process, found a company that did it for a relatively cheap amount, and then went with the proposal to my manager and the business. I said, look, this is how much you would save, and the company was quite heavy on the impact of the environment. So I tied into that as well. I said, look at how much you impact and save the environment if you stop wasting all this paper on the process. And I just really keyed my message not around the benefits for me, but for the organization and how much money they're going to save. And so they went for it. They digitalized the process, and then I went from 80% admin to maybe about 10%. And I remember my manager saying at the time, do you think you might have automated yourself out of the role? But I didn't think about it that way, because it then helped me to then show what I could do. So rather than spend my time, manually entering things into spreadsheets, and I was able to do more, learn more, and I got promoted quite quickly. So that's why I say organizational readiness to an extent, but within your own role, you can still digitalize, and to have that capability, you have to have the right mindset, the skills, and the tools to be able to do that. Okay, so in HR, digital capability is not just about systems. It's about the agility, the insight, and empowerment. So by taking away the admin and manual stuff, if you think about it this way, you then empower yourself to do more. And just like the story I've just said, I just gave you, I took away all the admin, the things that were slowing me down. I was able to then empower myself with skills and knowledge and experience from other things I could do in my role, which were not non-value-add activities. And some of the enablers for me was automation. So, finding a digital platform that could do it, self-service as well. So part of the tool that the provider gave was for candidates to be able to put in their own information. So you find self-service as well, saves you time and empowers you to do more. Data visibility is quite good as well, because you can then go from reactive to proactive. And then you can help increase user adoption as well. So, and the impact is quite huge. You can go from firefighting to future shaping, which is, actually having the time to focus on strategy for the future of your organization, as well as for yourself as well. Okay, so what are some of the mistakes that HR teams make? And one of them is waiting for the perfect tool instead of improving what you have. So at Copio Group, we do HR audits for teams, and you'll be surprised the amount of companies who already have something that they could improve on. And no matter where you are in your stage of digitalization, there's something you can do to improve. Even if you're stuck with using Excel, you can make that better. You could, make it more of an automated Excel spreadsheet. You can have it connected with other data sources. You can create more tools within Excel that can help you to save more time. So you don't have to wait for the perfect tool and the perfect environment. Another one is over customizing systems. So if you're lucky, you're in an organization where they can actually, allow the budget to have systems, HR systems. Some teams that make the mistake of over customizing and trying to replicate what you do now into the system. So having a system is a chance for you to step back and actually think about the way you do things, why you do them. And if the answer is because we've always done it that way, then please revisit that. Make sure your processes and your systems reflect where you want to be now and sometime in the future. So if you're going to be growing rapidly, make sure your systems can actually accommodate that growth in the future. Okay. HR teams sometimes also focus on tech and not people. So technology will only get you as far. The people who actually use the tech are the ones that make the difference. Also with people, your change management is quite important. So if you're putting in a tech into your HR framework, ensure that you look at your stakeholders, you ensure that it aligns with what people can actually use, and your change management has been thought of as well, so that your adoption rate is high. If you have a good self-service system that is supposed to save you time, because team members are updating their addresses and their details themselves, if they're not actually using it and they're still bypassing the system and coming to HR to say, oh, can I have a copy of my contract, which they should already have, or can you update my address manually, which they should be able to do themselves, then you haven't gotten the benefits of that technology. And the last one is neglecting post-implementation adoption. Sorry, does someone have a question? I can hear something. No. Okay. The other thing is neglecting post-implementation adoption. So sometimes HR teams think once you've implemented your technology, you then leave it that way, but that's not the case. You should be able to make updates, optimize as you go along. As things change, you should be able to make those changes as well. Okay, so if you say, just stay manual, I like admin, and I'm just going to keep typing in all those details manually. I'm going to keep typing those letters, as many times as it needs to be. What is the cost of staying manual to you as well as the organization? So manual processes are silent time stealers and the silent tax within HR. The amount of times I've spoken to HR teams where they said, oh, we like to do this. We want to be able to do this. We want to work on our culture. We want to do more compensation strategies. We want to be able to onboard people properly, but we just don't have the time to do it. And sometimes because you're so deep in your firefighting mode, you don't actually, get a chance to bring your head out and go, oh, how much time am I wasting on admin, or how much time could I be spending on something else? So for you being here, it means you understand, the importance of, claiming your time back, which is great. So, this is one of the costs of staying manual. It takes and steals your time. For example, onboarding that takes weeks, not days, poor reporting, which delays decision. Poor reporting can also lead to, money wasting, double payments, compliance issues, and things like that. And then HR is stuck in admin mode and not strategy. So the amount of times I speak to HR teams and say, look, we want to be doing more, we want to have a seat on the table. We want to be able to contribute to the strategy of the business and the growth. But most times you actually don't have the opportunity or the time to be able to do that because you're stuck in admin. So digitalizing will help you to go from being unseen and being part of the table in terms of decision making to actually getting there and showing the impact you have on the business. And also when we speak to HR departments, HR teams, up to 70% of their time are spent on repetitive tasks. So if you take a minute to just reflect on your day-to-day role and your activities in your organizations, think about the manual tasks that you undertake and the repetitiveness of those tasks. How many percent of your time do you spend on manual admin that you could be using doing something else? And I speak to HR teams and I say, what would you do with the time if you get it back? Would you go home early, or would you do something a bit more strategic? And the answers vary. So it depends on what you do with your time. But the important thing is to know that you can claim your time back. Okay, so I'm going to ask a question very shortly. So please help me, Sandra, with the poll if you can. So for me, I think there's 3 stages of digital maturity. One of them is the reactive stage. So you're not there yet at all. You're very reactive. It's spreadsheet chaos. I don't know how many of us deal with spreadsheets that, they're so big that if you breathe heavily around it, it's just going to crash. And once it crashes, that's your week, your week gone. So yes, the poll is up. Thank you. If you can please answer the question, which stage of digital maturity best describes you at the moment? Are you reactive, so still in spreadsheets? Are you semi-digital, so you still have tools, but they are disconnected, they are not talking to each other? Or are you strategic? So that means, you have the tools, they are integrated, they are insightful, you're actually using them as they should. And so if you can do that quickly, that would be great. And then for most of the teams I speak with, they are either in the first or second stage. And what we do as a company is then to help them get to stage 3, where they have the right tools, they're strategic, they're integrated, they're talking to one another, and they're actually using their systems to generate data that are insightful. Okay. Okay, I'll just pause a bit so that you can get that done, and then we can end the poll. Okay, so what are some of the things? There's some 3 frameworks that are help you get to digital maturity. And one of them is to review what you already have and actually think about what your admin bottlenecks are. So I share on LinkedIn tips and strategies to do that. There's an audit template that we give out for free, or we help HR teams to actually carry out those audits, to think about where your bottlenecks are. And we have a grid that we work with. So what are the low-hanging fruits? Which things, if you change now, that are quick and easy to do, will make a whole lot of difference. So thinking about that review, you need to spend time reviewing where your bottlenecks are. And then you need to refocus and think about what needs to actually get fixed. What would drive the biggest return on investment for you? And that could be return on investment in terms of money for your organization, but that could also mean return on investment on your own time. So if I fix this process, I'm going to be saving 20 hours per week, 30 hours per week. Think about, which processes will actually, give you that amount of return on investment. And the third one is to reinforce how you embed your change and build digital confidence. And this could just be training like you're receiving now for you and your team members. This could be reinforcing the behaviors, like I mentioned earlier, and the skill set that you require to ensure that you embed that change. So sometimes I speak to a lot of HR teams where they say, oh, I'm so used to using spreadsheets. Even if I find it a free tool now, I think I'll just stick to spreadsheets. And that is where we talk about reinforcing. So you need to ensure that you don't go back to old habits and just try to do things manually. Okay, I can see the poll going quite well. I don't know if everyone is done, so just move on. So, help my screen out again. Okay, so is everyone done with the poll? I don't know if you can still see my screen, but I'll share that again. Okay, so what are the practical steps you can take today to help you get from where you are to digital capability? And I've mentioned a few as well. One of the first things to do is the audit, which I mentioned. So even if it's just one process, for me, I knew I didn't like admin and manual tasks, so that was my focus. So sometimes think about the things that you don't like doing in your role. Sometimes that can steer you into where you need to audit, or just things that waste time. So do an audit on the things that waste time. Check what tools you have at the moment that you are underutilizing. So like I mentioned before, sometimes you might have tools that are already being paid for, or tools that you have that are free that you can use better. That could be Excel, that could be a Google Sheet, that could be a HR system. Some of you that have HR systems, you have systems that you've probably implemented years and years ago. You haven't, looked at the updates that they've done. You haven't looked at, what the system provider has done differently. Maybe because there's no time, or you're afraid to start a whole project. Sometimes it doesn't need to be an overhaul. It just needs to be these 3 things I've just said. Audit one process, check the tools you're underutilizing, and then automate one repetitive task. So look at that one thing that you need to automate. And my rule of thumb when I speak to organization is, if you're doing it more than 3 times a week, you need to automate it. And for some organizations, depending on their readiness, I say if you're doing it more than 2 times a week, you should automate it. For me, I'm so biased against admin and repetitive work. If I'm doing it more than 1 time a week, even if it's a month, I would automate it. That's how bad I am. I want to automate everything. And because of lack of time, I won't go into our quadrants on what we use to find out which processes to automate. But I think I've shared it on LinkedIn before, so you can check my profile or follow me on LinkedIn to get more tips. But one of the things one of the examples that I can share is, if it doesn't require human input, If it doesn't require you to, do something, to make a decision, you can automate it. So for example, if it's time stamped, if it's something that, can reoccur regularly, then you can automate it and you can digitalize it. So that's, kind of thing that I advise HR teams to do so that you can get your time back. Okay. All right. So, so some of the closing thoughts, and we'll have time for questions soon, is digital HR doesn't need to be perfect. It just needs progress. Start with one process, start with one free system, start with one tool. The more you can show the return for the business, the more they would invest in it. And when you want to, if you need to request for budget to get a tool, try as much as possible to speak the business language. Don't say, oh, I need a new tool because it's going to make my life easier. I'm sure your CEO or your CFO is not going to approve something because it will make your life easier. Think about the business needs. Think about the return on investment for the business. You're going to have your own personal advantage to having it, but that's not what they want to hear. And use free tools as well. Okay, show them glimpse of what you can achieve, with the things you have. Okay, show them a bit more data, show them the reason why, digitalizing will work well, why self-service will make a difference, and then build up on it. It doesn't have to be perfect to start with. Start with one process. And even for yourself, when you see the amount of time you save, the amount of, the empowerment it gives you to do more, and then you'll be able to build on those skills. Okay, and then build what your team would actually use. The amount of times I've spoken to HR teams and companies where they've just selected a system or created a process. Maybe finance decided to use a system and then just bolted on a HR system, and the HR teams don't use it. No one actually uses self-service. Is a lot. It happened a lot of the time. So please ensure that if you're creating something, it's something that would actually get used, whether by yourself as the HR, your HR team, or as the business, especially for self-service. Okay, like I mentioned, connect for more tips or check out. We have a guide on the HR admin fix, and this is the exact framework we use to help HR teams to save 20+ hours per week on their HR admin tasks. And that's on our website. I can share the link. You can download that and read that as well. Okay, so thank you everyone for having me. Thanks for joining, and thank you as well to Dr. Adora and the Stay Trendy team for having me on. And I think the next section will let you ask any questions you have. Don't know how I'm doing on time. Yes, we'll help you ask any questions you have. Okay.
Yeah, you're doing very well. You're doing very well on time. That's good. So what we will do is I'll just, of course, just like you mentioned, ask you a couple of questions. So you have the poll. Did you see the poll results? And maybe you can just talk about that. Let's see if we can put up the.
Yes, I can see. Yeah.
Yes.
I can see. So we have 33% on reactive, which is the spreadsheet chaos. We have 46% on semi-digital and 21% on strategic. So first of all, congratulations to the 21%. I think 5 people who are on stage 3. Well done. And you can share experience, with everyone else on how you got there. But it's great to see that some teams are actually enjoying the benefit of actually being in stage 3 and having integrated and insightful HR tools and processes. But majority of us are in stage 2, which is uncommon, which is not uncommon. A lot of the time, most people are within stage 1 and 2, like I mentioned. So this, goes quite well with what we've noticed as well. So my advice to you, if you are in stage 1, still in spreadsheet chaos, like I've mentioned, find one thing. What is that one thing that's taking most of your time? And I say to HR teams when I speak to them, if you could close your eyes and open it, and one of your processes is automatically overhauled, which one would you choose? That one that causes you pain, I think that's the one you should start with. And sometimes you have to ensure that you don't fall for the loudest one. It should be the one that gives you the most return on investment. So which one is going to save you more time? Which one is going to help your profile within the business as well? Sometimes I speak to HR teams and they say, oh, if I could just get our data right, because the amount of times I feel like I want the ground to open if I go and present data to the board and someone spots, oh, actually, that's wrong. That kind of thing is very embarrassing. So HR teams go, oh, my data, how can I get my data right? And because they're spending a lot of time on manual data reporting, is error prone. We're all humans. Sometimes we make mistakes. So if you can digitalize that, if you can connect your systems, even with your spreadsheet, you can create templates that would automate things, that will flag errors. You can create formulas that would automatically calculate things for you, so that will reduce that error before you then get to a stage where you can have an integrated system that would work for you. And for those that have some digitalization and are disconnected, again, there are free tools. If you've got IT within your department, within your organization, IT is your friend when it comes to digitalization. It worked for me when I worked in HR because I knew I could do the connection. For example, we've got Zapier now that does connection for free. You can use tools within your spreadsheet that can connect with another database like finance. But for confidence and for more of a stakeholder ownership, I guess maybe partnership with other parts of the organization, speak to your HR team. Tell them, this is what I want to do. We have this tool. They're not connected. We need to be able to do more. Find new ways of doing it, and that way you have the confidence that okay, you're doing something, and any IT repercussion are taken care of. You can get advice from your IT teams on what works best. If you have data policies, what can be done and what cannot be done. So utilize those things that you currently have within your organization as well.
Fantastic. That sounds great. So I think one of the questions I like to ask is around, you mentioned mindset being a very very, very key in terms of the mindset required for digital readiness. Can you speak more on that? Because, a lot of times people just think it's about tools, whereas maybe we haven't actually addressed the foundations. What type of mindset do we need to enhance our digital capability?
Okay, so for me, the mindset I think that is important is the mindset of growth and improvement, and realizing that, because you've always done it a particular way, doesn't mean you have to stay that way. The mindset I had, working in HR and wanting to digitalize a lot of my tools, was about just freeing myself. So you have to see yourself more than the things that are holding you back and the admin, and you need to be able to then seek the skills and the tools to be able to free yourself from those things. So for me, I felt like the admin and the manual was holding me back, and my mindset was, I have to free myself so that I can show my skills, show what I could do to the organization. So you need to have the mindset of growth, the mindset to continue to learn. A lot of HR teams say, oh, I'm not techie at all, so I can't do it. So you have to be able to shed that mindset of I'm not techie. You don't have to be a tech guru. You don't have to be an IT person. You just need to want it enough, to do the research, to speak to people. And there are a lot of, DIY technology where they're building before the HR systems in the past where you have to, be really techy to be able to walk through them. But now, HR systems and things, they're building them in a way that you don't have to have technical skills to be able to use them. So for the mindset needs to be about, not holding yourself back and saying, oh, I'm not techy, or I cannot do this. You need to want it enough to, ask the right questions as well.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. Now, in your opinion, if there was one thing that should be digitized in terms of HR, what would that one thing be?
For someone that wants to digitalize everything.
No.
That's a hard
If
question.
there's one thing, no, there's one thing. If there was one thing.
So I think that could vary for different organizations, and I'm going to still give you one thing, but I have to say that could vary for different organizations depending on what your pain points are. For some people, they have data sorted, so it's onboarding because they are recruiting, 30 people a week, and everything is just so manual, so they need to get onboarding sorted. For some people, it's data. thinking about the things I hear most from HR teams, I would say data. HR is not the kind of function where you could say, I'm just going to do all this nice strategic and things I enjoy doing without doing, the data recording, the data updating, and those kind of things. So because data is quite key within the HR role, and whether it's data entry, whether it's data updating or data reporting, because there's so many aspects to data within HR. I would say data. A lot of teams I speak with, they talk
Yeah.
about the whole data journey, whether from where the data is being recorded from the beginning of the HR process, and through the employment life cycle. Data needs to be recorded, it needs to be updated, from joiners to leavers. So most times, data comes up a lot more.
Yeah. Okay, well, maybe we should ask the audience and, and do another poll, which is looking at the, which stage of or which HR process would they digitize? Okay.
Mm.
So I think if we do that, then maybe that will help us with. So I think we have another poll. Is that, do we have that up? No. Is it still the digital?
Yeah, it's still the 3 stages.
Okay. So
Yeah,
we can do another one. Yeah.
yeah.
Like
In
I
the
think we have,
meantime,
yeah.
yeah, exactly. In the meantime, I was just saying people can also just put in the comments,
In the chat, yes.
yeah, which process, if you could digitalize one process, what would it be? Or maybe what's your biggest pain point at the moment as a HR professional?
Yeah.
What's the biggest pain point? We've got the poll there as well.
Yeah.
So
We
if
put
there's
the other
anything,
poll. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. So which of these would you prioritize for digital HR transformation? So we have recruitment, performance management, learning and development, payroll and HR operations, and employee engagement. So if we can have everyone, like, because I was asking, but let's have people tell
yeah,
us that if they had one area, which one would they do next? I mean,
yeah.
of course, if you've had some other areas done already, then fine. But if you had one area that you would usually, I have my own, so I will reveal my own. Honestly, like, but it would be good to hear from people. And you can use the chat as well. But this, if
Yeah,
you use the poll, what it does is like it helps us to analyze the data, which
yeah,
is what we're talking about, isn't it? Yeah,
yeah,
the ability to analyze our data. Yeah.
yeah.
And I think one of the things that holds people back is I think that people are not clear where to start from.
Yeah,
Yeah. Because the basis of any digitization is data readiness.
yeah,
Like you need the data collected in a way that it can be. The language of digital is data,
yeah,
right? Nothing can be digitized unless it's in the format in which it
yeah,
can be analyzed,
yeah,
right? So
exactly.
your records have to be in the format. So all your employee records, not just the records, of course, if that's the data of the staff you have,
Yeah,
that's their record. But everything you want to automate or you want to gather insights from
yeah,
you have to have the data
exactly.
ready in a way that can be analyzed. So if you want to digitize your performance management, then you need to have it has to be in the format. If you
Mm,
want to make decisions based on people's performance, then you have to have the data on how everyone has performed, right?
yes.
So you
Yeah,
can't move. And I feel like the first steps is, just to be data ready, like have the data of your people, of your function ready, because
exactly.
there's no progress without data. Yeah. Okay, so
Yes.
maybe we can look at the poll results.
Yeah. So
Mhm.
majority, oh, we're still getting more. Majority at
Okay,
the
yes, I
moment
see
is on
more.
performance management. That's
Ah,
interesting.
yeah, yeah.
And next is payroll and HR operations, then learning and development, then employee engagement and recruitment and onboarding. Okay, so I find it's interesting that recruitment and onboarding is the lowest, because I work with a lot of scaling and growing organizations where that's a real pain point for them. But I guess it depends on how much volume of recruitment you're doing. And then so I'll just address the biggest one, which is performance management. Right. So performance management it's one where the organizations I work with is a bit half and half. We get some HR leaders who are big on performance management on the yearly cycle, and therefore, have to do one big bang approach where it then gets really painful. And doing it manually can just be a nightmare. So I get that. And then we get a lot of other HR leaders who do the continuous improvement approach and continuous conversations where they don't want to do a 1 year cycle or twice a year cycle. They want to do that performance review ongoing. You need to have conversations with your managers from time to time, and you need to record all of that. So having the right tool to be able to record all those conversations, to be able to analyze the performance trends and things like that is quite important. So that's interesting to see. Again, there are loads of performance management tools out there, but there's also, if you're using Microsoft, you got Teams as well, things like that. There are add-ons within Microsoft as well that can help you to just really record your performance and gather and report on the data as well. So it doesn't have to be a complete full-fledged performance management system or a HRIS, depending on where you are, depending on the size of your organization. So you could use free tools or tools that you already have to manage performance and record and analyze that as well.
Yeah,
And the next we
definitely.
have a tie on learning and development and payroll and HR operations. So I'll talk about HR and payroll and HR operations first, because a lot of the time that is where a lot of the admin and bottlenecks lie, especially in payroll, where it has to be correct 100%. Any mistake you make there to the penny sometimes can get flagged. And I know a lot of HR teams who are just used to doing payroll manually, using emails to get payment changes, managers sending emails to authorize things, and they've just managed to make it work. So shout out to all the HR teams who are managing to make payroll work on a manual basis. But it makes sense that will be an area where you would want to digitalize, because it's very error prone, which you need to get right. HR operations in itself, requires a lot of repetitive tasks. You cannot do something without, updating a record, without sending out a letter, and things like that. So, being able to digitalize payroll and HR operations, I can see can be quite key to your HR day-to-day activities. Learning and development, again, that's one. There are loads of learning and development tools. Again, there are loads of bolt-on. If you use Salesforce as well in your organization, there are loads of bolt-on tools that you can get from there for learning, whether it requires content is another one. You can upload your own content, for example, for learning and development as well. And employee engagement, that's interesting, and that's higher than I thought it would be. So there are lots of things right now, thinking about stay trendy theme that people can do to keep employees engaged, and rightly so. Being able to digitalize that is key, so that you can track what works and what doesn't work as well. So I think it's a good spread.
And I think with the engagement, obviously, maybe start by digitizing the surveys. I mean, typically the surveys, I don't believe there's anybody still doing paper surveys anyway. So these are, I think, part of this session, just so that people just know that being digital isn't about automating everything, right? Even just the little things, that the fact that you're using Google Forms instead of paper, that's a step in the right direction.
Exactly.
Okay.
Or
Yes.
Survey
Mhm.
Monkey, or
Yes,
there are tools
exactly.
now that will help you
Yes,
analyze the results as well. Yeah.
exactly. Yeah. So when you do you do the surveys, you get the results, you report, and then you use the information in terms of the insights gained to make decisions. So the fact that you're even doing it is a step in the right direction. I think
Exactly.
sometimes just like you said, there's a form of chaos in the sense that you have individualized digital elements, right? But they're not in maybe one ERP or an HRIS, right?
Yeah.
But you have all these different things, like you have spreadsheets which you use to do payroll, which
Yeah.
is which is a step further, right? You have your surveys that you do on Google Form or Microsoft, which is a step further. You have, some things that you do on some kind of small HRIS or some kind of other spreadsheet. So like you're
Yeah.
getting there, right? But there's still more that you can do. So
Doing, yeah.
my next question will be around tools because you've talked about the mindset, right?
Mm.
But when we talk about tools, in your experience, what's one digital tool that has significantly improved HR efficiency and why? Like, can you tell us, let's know, we're here about being trendy. Can you tell us
Mm.
about a tool, any tool that you say, you know what, this one, no, this one is good, and it has significantly improved HR efficiency, something that people can use without having to go and implement one, or even if it's an HRIS or an ERP that what does it do? So,
Mm.
if you can help us with that, that would be great.
Okay, so I think for different stages, one tool that I have used when there wasn't an option to have a HRIS, and I think for me the best tool that has actually really made a big difference would be a really good HRIS. But I'm gonna get to that, and I'm just gonna
Yeah,
talk about
yeah.
for people who maybe don't have the option at the moment, and
Mhm.
is weird because this is something that usually I get clients away from, which is spreadsheets. But but I find that everyone has access to spreadsheets, right? So I think there's
Yeah,
everybody on this call be able to have access to spreadsheets. Um, if done right, if there's no other option, and if done right, so there's lots of automation that you can do. There are loads of button tools, even on Excel. There are loads of templates and formula driven things that you can do, depending on the stage you're in your organization. If you've got only a handful of employees, then and you've got no other option, where you are in the Excel, you can manage with that, and this comes with the skills and mindset as well. So if you can upskill yourself in using the tool properly, you can make a difference where you are. Okay, but if you have the opportunity to get a decent HRIS, it would make a whole world of difference as well. And there are loads of free ones out there now, and sometimes it doesn't have to actually be tools that are built just for the Nigerian market as well. So it could be tools you can find online. There's so many tools that maybe they offer payroll as their main service, and then they bought on a good HRIS as well. And you don't have to actually use their payroll system. You can just use their HRIS tool for free. There are loads of them that I see as well. So for me, what would make a whole world of difference would be a decent HRIS that has the ability to have that end-to-end employee life cycle digitalized and automated. So thinking about from your recruitment, your applicant tracking system, that flowing into employee record, everything self-service, everything digitalized, letters are automatically created, changes are automatically inputted, calculations are automatically done, workflows are triggering right, left, and center. That's the ideal world. But if you cannot get there at the moment, you can upskill yourselves in using, free tools like Excel, Slack, Notion, that can digitalize some things as you go along. And then you can then build on top of that.
Yeah. So can you give us maybe an example of one process that we could use any of these tools to digitize?
So one
Like
key
a
process,
common one. Yeah.
a common one. So again, I mentioned onboarding because I was speaking to a few clients recently where that's been their pain point, but because they are recruiting a lot. So onboarding is one aspect, but if you're not recruiting a lot, one key process that you can use a tool for will be self-service. So I speak with a lot of HR teams that are saying a lot of our time is spent on employees coming to us and saying, can you give me a copy of your contract or my contract? You should already have that. That takes maybe, especially if you don't have digital files and you have to go to someone's, physical paper file and then go and photocopy a copy of the contract for them. Or, can you tell me how many holiday I have left? Or can you tell me, who my manager is, for example, that kind of thing. If you can automate or digitalize self-service. That would really help. So one of the key things you need to think about is where you're wasting time answering questions, providing information that should, you should be able to, people should have access to, employees should have access to. So it could be a Google Drive, it could be if you've got SharePoint, things like that, where you can easily point people to and start to say, right, if you want a copy of your contract, this is where you find it. If you, and maybe do FAQs, for example, how many holidays do I have? Find a way. It could even be a tool that allows people to view spreadsheets, or where you can manually enter their holiday and then they can view it themselves, those kind of things. So a lot of HR teams waste time on self-service activities or activities that could be self-service. So if you can find a way to use tools, free tools or tools already have, to help employees to self-serve, you get some time back and then you can focus on doing other things.
Yeah, so I'll just ask the last thing, and before, so we can just take questions from anyone. Like, you mentioned onboarding. Can you give us an example of what can be done with onboarding using everyday tools that we
Tools,
already have?
okay. Yes. So onboarding, depending on the things you need to do. So for example, the HR teams who need to ask employees to provide details. So they've been made an offer, you send out the contracts. Again, how are you sending out contracts? Are you manually having to type out everything into the contract? There you can use mail merge. You can just use word mail merge for that if you don't have a ATS and HRIS tool, so that every time you have a new contract, and you can have your contract saved by departments, by functions if you like, and have those mail merge already in, that can then pull the address. So again, you can use a spreadsheet, pull your address in, so you don't have to manually type that all the time. If you've got DocuSign, again, that should be automated. I don't know if anybody's still manually printing out and posting contracts today, but if you're doing that, maybe you don't need to. You could get employees as well to provide the information that you need to update your records by themselves. So I have a lot of HR teams who are very stressed about typing in people's names and date of birth wrong, or contracts. Again, if you've got a HRIS, that could be self-serve within the onboarding process. Or you can send like an access to a shared drive or Google Drive if you like, if you don't have any of those tools, so that new employees can input their details by themselves. Just have a form that helps them to collect their information. That also sees your organization as being, it makes the onboarding process a lot smoother and creates a good perception as well if you digitalize those kind of things. So that reduces the error, because they're putting their own details, whatever numbers, their bank details, all of those things that inputted themselves. And then if you have the option to then link that to your database, that data can flow in. Or even if you don't have that option, it's easy for you to copy and paste that information into somewhere else. So, collecting data from onboarding, that's one thing. Allowing them to self-serve by populating their information themselves. If you have reference checks or things like that you need to do, again, try and use tools to be able to collect that information and send out your reference requests. Or if you need to do security checks or things like that, again, you can find a digitalized platform that can help you do those, as opposed to doing it manually. So again, it's removing all those time task in onboarding process, and then settling people. And sometimes it might be training, it might be the probation review, all those kind of things. You can use systems, tools like Excel, really automated ones, not just basic Excel. So when I say Excel, if I'm giving you options for Excel, it's not just the standard. If you don't have any other option, heavily automated Excel spreadsheets with all the tools and bells and whistles in it to help you save time. That's where you can actually get your process. And thinking about your end-to-end onboarding process, I think about if it doesn't require your inputs, like you just need to send out a reminder, automate that as much as possible.
Okay, so thank you, Kes. So let's talk about questions from the audience. Please feel free to add your questions or comments in the chats. Maybe you can stop sharing your screen, Kes.
Yeah.
And so I think there's a question, or would I say it's a comment from Linda and then the poll. Yeah, we had our poll results, so no need. We can close the poll now as well. Yes. So I think Linda had a comment or question on AI. Obviously, it's difficult to speak without referencing AI now. and teaching employees how to use AI tools responsibly and the ethics of AI. I think that that's definitely a big one coming
Yes.
up because AI and ethics is such a big issue now. And I think the key issue is still data, people sharing data, because most people's idea of AI is most people's idea of AI, sorry, is would I call it ChatGPT at the moment, right? And ChatGPT is all about data as well. So people are uploading their sensitive data online, and AI knows a lot of things. Oh, that ChatGPT, people are talking about confidentiality, but
Yeah.
I'm sure, like, if you type in questions about some companies now, it's already there because
Yes. Somebody
somebody
has
in the
put in.
company has uploaded the entire HR policies and procedures manual. They've uploaded the entire, company data because they want analysis done, because AI is
Mm.
very smart. It does all those things for us, but you have to do it ethically and
Yes.
responsibility. So I believe responsibly. So I believe that's another area that definitely needs to be talked upon. So, do we have any questions in the chats? I'm not seeing anyone apart from Linda's one. If anyone has any questions, please feel free to drop it in the chat while we hear. And on this, I think just like I said, some of the key things is all about being ready digitally, like the mindsets, the skills, the tools, and most of the times, I mean, for years we've been talking about digitizing HR, but I always feel like people struggle is where do I even start?
Mm.
And I think a big part, if you know nothing, I think the key three things you need to know is one, data. Data is the foundation of everything digital, right? And I would say, I think the second thing you need to think, of course, no, mindset. I'll say mindset first, right? Because if you think you can, you can. If you think you can't, you can't, right?
Exactly.
Then I would say data. Yeah, because it's the foundation. There is no digitizing, no digitalization, nothing. And then I think the third thing I would say is make the systems and the tools, right? The systems and the tools, because obviously we're going to use tools. There is no analysis that we're expecting you to do manually. We're going to use tools to gather the insights from the data. It's going to be a system ultimately. So those would
Yeah.
be three things, and I think
Yeah.
that foundation is very key for, for at least helping people start. Good.
Yeah.
I can't see a question. I don't know whether anyone else. Kes, can you check? Because in case I'm not seeing any
No,
questions or
I can't see
Kes
any
was
questions.
okay.
In the
Kes
meantime,
was
I'm
so
just
great.
gonna, yeah, I'm just gonna talk about Linda's comment about AI. So that's a
Yeah.
whole other
Mhm.
topic. But as HR professionals, I think it's important to ensure that, like you mentioned, Linda, people are responsible in their use of HR, in their use of AI within the organization. So rather than shy away from, talking about it or creating policies in place, you need to address it because whether you like it or not, your employees are putting company information right now in ChatGPT. So
Yeah, yeah.
whether you educate them on the right things to use, the way to frame their prompts without putting personal information or company information is the way to go about it. There are tools now
Mhm.
that organizations can actually put in place which would help encrypt the details that the employees are putting in AI. So it's almost like their own personal chat GPT, if you like,
Yes, yes,
but then
yes.
the company information stays encrypted.
Mm-hmm. I
Yeah.
mean, that's something that definitely comes up. So I mean, I think while we're still here is just to ensure that everyone knows that we do this regularly. Kendall Consulting, the key thing we're known for is our HR boot camps. So we have different kinds of HR boot camps, including a new digital HR boot camp. So we have our classic HR boot camps, which we've done for 15 odd years. And this year, we're introducing our digital HR bootcamp, and all that information will be sent. And what we're trying to do is we're targeting teams, HR teams, so not, I mean, individuals as well. So we'll have one open program. But the key thing is that we believe that as a team, as an HR team, we need to come together. So we have two types of digital HR bootcamp, one that focuses on data-driven HR bootcamp, and then another that is focusing on digital HR transformation. So if you or your team is interested in that, we'll be sending an email with the recording of this video. And then, of course, we will be collaborating with Kes and her team to ensure that if this is something that you and your organization want, especially if you have a large HR function, or even if you just want to assess a framework, your digital readiness, we can at least help you audit where are you now and maybe what quick things you need to do. So we can help you on that journey. If you want to do it bit by bit, then this is what we can help you with. So yes, and that's why we're here for you, to ensure that your learning as an HR professional is not just trendy, but up to date with where you should be with your contemporaries anywhere in the world. That's something I've always said about being an HR professional, wherever you are, whether you're in Nigeria, UK, the US. The bottom line is that we should all be at par. We don't have any excuse to say, oh, because we're here or in this country or the other. So my focus and the focus of us at Kendor and why we do this is to make sure that pace-setting HR professionals have all the skills they require to excel wherever they find themselves. So I think we just have a thank you from, I think we're bang on 12, 12 o'clock. Is there a way to digitize the report writing? Of course, everything is
Yes,
digitizable.
there is.
Yeah.
There
So
is.
we'll be sending out an email, obviously, with the recording. And then any of the things, yes, I mean, if there's any of the things that you want to share with us, we will send it out in the next, give us by tomorrow. You get that email. If you're interested in our digital HR boot camps, great. And of course, if you follow Kendall, please start preparing for our conference. So it's usually at December at the end of the year. And of course, our theme, maybe you go on our website or go on our social media to see what we have planned for HR professionals today. So without further ado, I want to thank Kes again and
Thank you.
everyone, yes, behind the scenes that helped put this session together. Sandra, thank you for your support from the Kendall side. And yeah, I just want to say thank you to everyone. And till we meet again, Kes, keep doing your thing. And
Thank
bye,
you.
everyone.
All right,
Go back
thank
to
you.
work and
Bye.
do some amazing things. Take care.
Bye, everyone. Bye.
All right.
Thank
Bye.
you. Thank you so much.
Take care. Bye.